Not being a pro gamer, Sam. Trust me. Right, okay.
As we were saying yesterday, I mean, these players play against each other so, like, the community is so small when it comes to this type of bracket of play in South Africa. So they face each other off a lot, and they know each other well. So I think they're going to test the waters a bit in the first game, feel each other up, so to speak. And
oh my,
come on! And I think it's gonna. Yeah, come on, stop. No, but I seriously think it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, as you know, like these players have actually been on the same teams before as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with, and you're going to see some insta bans of like, okay, we can't give Donny that hero, we can't give Chelsea that hero. So I think it's going to be interesting.
There's going to be an OD ban.
It's going to be an OD ban, yeah,
OD
definitely.
Ban
Well, I mean, we saw a lot of bans of a very small hero pool, and these are obviously heroes that are in the current meta, the most popular heroes at the moment, that the patches support. And so let's go into those. We've got ourselves our Drow.
Yeah, the Drows there. You guys mentioned the OD. Definitely a dreadful hero to play against. And
APG naming one of their wins just thanks to picking an
right.
OD.
Yeah, the ACG OD was definitely one of the most exciting things I've seen this tournament. And there's also the Wisp. I'm sorry, the Wisp, the Shadow Demon's also there, and then also the early game X. Chanel loves the X. But unfortunately, he's a bit too strong. We've seen that happen in the WRG game. So they might consider banning it. The BVD. Actually specifically because they want to win, right?
Yeah.
Like they can't make mistakes, and if you can't make mistakes, you shouldn't be able to lose. So right now with this team that they have, as you said, they have experience overseas. They played against teams in South Africa, so in experience, I think BVD is able to take this by a margin as well. But let's not underestimate Carbon. They're a new team, but they know
they've been around the block
just
as much as
they're reading the books. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were talking bans. Is there any particular ban that you expect is almost guaranteed each and every time? We saw the Shadow Demon getting through each and every time. But do you think that's actually going to be the ban strat here?
Well, it's especially from the side of BVD. Opening up with the immediate OD ban was almost a given. I casted 5 of their games yesterday, and every time it was OD, and then it was the Wisp, as well as then as soon as they lost to the Morphling Shadow Demon strat, that said, well, the next series, they're absolutely banning out the Shadow Demon, not allowing it to happen again. So I think, depending going up against Carbon, if Carbon decide to try and run an SD strat, then obviously Bravado will then actually counter that by banning it out. But I expect the OD completely to be banned out every round.
I would also say maybe Timbersaw, because we've seen that hero go through for Bravado quite a bit as well, and it's devastating. They utilize that hero so well. So I would expect the Timbersaw ban as well, because it's just a hero that just accomplishes so much. It's so tank, and it can just blow up anything in its wake. So,
well, let's talk about which team makes better use of the map. Now, what I mean by that is space creation, pushing lanes while you're fighting in another, that sort of stuff. Both teams obviously have that experience and can do so, but one surely has the edge over the other.
I would say Bravado. They move with purpose.
Of course you do.
No,
you
but
want them to win this tournament.
It's not about favoritism at all. I'm not biased at all.
Yes.
It's one thing that Bravado has been consistent with is if you see a team run through the jungle, for instance, you'll see them run through the jungle and not do anything, just getting to the lane. Bravado, however, will stack camps along the way while they're moving to one lane to the next. They utilize their map with purpose. They move with purpose. There's never just stagnant movement or anything. The vision, there's always constant vision. So for them, I think they just utilize the map. Even if they're losing with kills, with towers, they're still ahead of net worth. They're still on par with the winning team because they use the map so well. And I think that's what separates Bravado from the rest of the teams.
So do you think Carbon would have to up their game in that respect?
They definitely do. I agree with Chanel saying that BVD is going to be the one who has the most control of the map for actually the series, for the game against Carbon. Mostly because Habibi and Odu, especially Odu, knows exactly where the carriers want their wards to be. I mean, if Flares needs to farm, let's say, their own jungle, right, you can't leave it open for Carbon to take over. We've seen how Carbon is able to pick off heroes, and they're capable, well, against any team actually. With them 5, smoke up, get the carry, and then rinse and repeat. But right now, they're going to need to decide. Carbon needs to get those sentries up in the enemy jungle and just make sure that every single observer ward is taken down by BVD side. So now, if BVD has no vision, they have no plan, right? So now they have to go in blindly, like, oh, where are the enemies? Where is the Carbon carry? Meanwhile, there's Chosen One farming and farming. We saw yesterday Dry Ranger got so strong by 60 minutes, but unfortunately getting positioned out and losing the games towards that Addiston stock.
Yeah. Well, Addiston is doing what he does best, I guess.
Precisely.
And I mean,
if you look at the way that BVD runs their draft, they've got 4 of the players from BVD just running around the map, causing absolute devastation around the map, allowing Flares to pretty much do what he wants. In that series yesterday with BVD versus APG, Flares still was ending off the game with 16-3 on his Juggernaut. So it's not the fact that BVD struggle for farm. They just kind of got a little bit outplayed and a little bit ratted in the top with the SD Morph. But BVD run their lineups the way they want to run it and don't play the game of the other team. If the other team can get in BVD's head and kind of make them jumble them up a bit or rustle their feathers a bit, then the other team stands a little bit of a better chance.
Well, I mean, you saw the BVD games yesterday. Obviously, I mean, I don't know who you called player of the match or player of the series, but what does the fight revolve around usually on the side of BVD? What can Carbon do to take advantage of that?
Flares and Seam are absolutely control of the game. I mean, we've got Donny North lane. He still gets a ridiculous amount out of his lane. But if they can stop Flares from actually getting the farm that he needs to getting his item progression up, then the other team actually stands a bit of a better chance. But even if Flares falls behind a little bit, you've got the rest of BVD that can then take over their core role and start doing so much with it. And their draft kind of leads to the point where everyone on their team kind of does something. The one match that they actually lost they lost the middle match, the 1 point match to APG. They picked up a bounty hunter. Didn't really do much for them, and that's when they kind of fell apart. But other than that, BVD really have a lineup that every hero deals damage throughout the fight.
Yeah. I also think that if they're going to pick a draw, they're going to need heroes to protect that draw. And if they see a Slark, they need to counter that Slark, with Disable and whatnot. Same with the Morphling versus the Juggernaut pick yesterday. I mean, what is a Juggernaut going to do to a Morphling late game? I mean, he's not going to do anything. What is he going to do when the thing has Skadi, when it has Manta? You can't do anything against that with a Juggernaut. So for me, they need to be a little bit stronger with the drafting and be slightly sneaky, like they were in the first game against APG, that like sucker punch Storm pick, last pick. They're like, we don't have anything to counter a Storm Spirit. So BVD won that game inevitably. So they need to be sneaky and they need to think smart as well about their draft.
They need to take a page out of APG's game. What actually happened during the draft is we had ACG picking up the core, and then we had Addiston picking up the mid laner. All of a sudden, in game, they then swapped heroes around, and then they sent Ursa into the mid lane, kind of put Donny on the back foot because he was playing the Ursa mid. Yeah. All of a sudden, they see the Weaver going mid. Now ACG, they swapped in game, had to swap Timber around, and that already put them on the back foot. So APG came out with a little bit of a sneaky start, put BVD on a bit of the back foot, and that's what led them to a 1-1 game. So BVD needs to... I think BVD can play an okay game. Carbon needs to play an exceptional game to kind of get the result that they want.
Yeah.
Well, both teams looking very cool-headed in their booths, just busy setting up. And they really look like they're ready for this. There's a few discussions here and there. Obviously, they both know they know each other. So who's the key player for Carbon?
For Carbon, I think it's going to be Strike. I see a lot of potential in him,
really?
In this team. Yeah, although, let's just say, like, in a big tournament, this is his first. Last tournaments were like, Carbon has a few subs, right? But you didn't see Strike. 540 wasn't there, but now they have a good support, and then a mid player that can potentially become one of the best in South Africa. But he just needs to play more, just get somewhere at it. I know he's a bit unknown right now, but I think in a 2 months' time, 3 months' time, he's going to get somewhere.
Do you think Strike is maybe the new golden boy like Castaway?
Like Castaway, yeah. Like with the team that he has. I mean, he's got Modeste, right? And his Oracle plays is good. Like, you've seen him, he's doing what he does. And as a captain, probably like leading the game as well. But now, with this gel that they still need to glue upon each other, they're going to need to like work more. And unfortunately, this is against BVD. And if they do beat BVD, they have to play against APG and then WRG in the grand final. So for both teams, for BVD as well, this is a horrible bracket stage where you have to play against the top teams. Like regardless of what you do, you're either out or you play against the next stage against either APG or WRG. So both teams it's going to be really close, I think. But realistically, I think a lot of backers are going to go for BVD to win.
Is that the way you're leaning?
I'm an underdog. I love to be underdog. So Carbon for me, although it's unrealistic.
Okay, so
right?
you're calling Carbon.
I'll be celebrating if Carbon beats BVD.
Come on.
Yeah.
For me, I would like to see Bravado triumph not because it's my favorite team in this competition, because after five consecutive years of winning every LAN, I think they're the team that deserves it the most. What's at stake?
All right, and Jabba.
I'm feeling BVD after that APG upset. I think BVD is going to come back with a vengeance, and God help the team that goes up against them next. So.
Yeah.
And it is going to be Carbon, so we'll see what they can muster up. In the interim, though, I believe we are just about ready to rock and roll.